If you want premium access to the cab of your 2020 or newer JT Gladiator, these Rough Country Power running boards are going to be the way to go. Now, these will be a great solution if you want a sleek option of running boards that only hangs down when you need them to, which will be great if you're either not a fan of that traditional running board look and what it has to offer, or you need the clearance for your off-roading adventures and want the best of both worlds. Now, when you open the door, these will offer a large step to help you and your passengers get in and out of the JT, which will be especially useful if you have a lift kit or a leveling kit installed. Now, when the door is shut, this is going to offer clearance, style, and protection very similar to the factory Ruby rails and have that look of a low-profile rock rail, again allowing you to reap all of the benefits when it comes to having steps and when it comes to having sliders. This will feature a 5-inch wide stepping surface, offering a ton of room from front to back to plant your foot to get in and out of your JT when the running boards are down, in addition to an anti-skid surface to keep you safer when you're getting in and out. Not to mention, these will feature LED lights, adding a custom appearance and making entry to your Gladiator just that much easier, especially in the dark. Now, a pretty cool feature that these have as well is an automatic safe stop, which will stop the step from opening when a blockage is detected and preserving the life of the step mechanically and physically, keeping these functioning well and looking new for years to come. These will be made of a heavy-duty yet lightweight aluminum construction with the ability to hold up to 660 pounds and will come with a black powder coat finish for a premium look while simultaneously protecting that aluminum underneath from corrosion. This kit will also feature a heavy-duty dual motor design and will come with all of the hardware and wiring needed, including a manual override button for when the doors are off, being very useful. Now, this will require a little bit of wiring. As you can tell, this does come with a wiring harness, so most of it is going to be plug and play, but you will have to do a little bit of customization, and we'll show you how to do that in just a minute, so don't be intimidated. It is fairly easy. Now, for the function, you can probably assume that these are going to be more at a premium price point, and they will be at roughly $1,400. Now, for a power running board though, these will save you some cash compared to other options for a couple reasons, like more of a simplistic design, and these are going to be made of lightweight aluminum compared to some other heavy-duty steel options. Now, I think if you want to save a couple bucks on a set of power steps and still want an incredibly strong and functional set to again get the best of both worlds while including options and a pretty easy install, then this is going to be a great way to go. Now, there is a little bit of wiring work again that needs to be done, so it's going to come in at a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, but should only take you about 2 hours to get the job done with the right hand tools. At this point, we can head over to our shop and check out a detailed breakdown on how to get these onto your Gladiator at home, so that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
The tools you're going to need for this install include safety glasses, a drill, 3/8 drill bit, an electric or regular ratchet, a panel removal tool, a 16, 13, 10 T40 torque socket, 3/16 Allen socket, a 3/8 extension, diagonal cutters, and included zip ties. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be installing running boards on our Gladiator, so let's get started. Now, for the passenger side of our vehicle, we're going to use a 3/8 drill bit to drill a hole for our second hole on our motor. So before we drill, we're going to make sure that our hole that we're drilling is in the right spot. You're going to take your motor and line it up and make your dot so you know where to drill. So now we can take our 3/8 drill bit and drill our hole. So once that's drilled, you can take your motor, thread in your short bolt with your lock washer and washer. Your second bolt through your new drilled hole. Then you can take your 13mm socket and tighten both of these down. So before we get our motor mounted up, we're going to take this flag nut and insert this through the top of the cab. Now we can get our motor into place. Thread in our bolt, lock washer, and washer. Same for this side. Now that your flag nut is through the slot of the motor, we can take our washer, lock washer, and nut and thread that onto the top. Now you can take your 13mm socket and extension, tighten this down. Now we can come back up to our pinch weld and tighten up these two bolts using our 13mm socket. Now moving on to the rear, we're going to use our short bolt, lock washer, and washer and line up our motor and thread in your bolt. Thread in our second one. Then using our 13mm socket, we can tighten both of these down. This might be a little tricky to see, but there is a slot in the middle of the motor where you're going to slide your bolt, lock washer, and washer into, and you can thread that in. Then you can take your 13mm socket and your extension and tighten that down. So now we're going to be installing our skid bracket. We're going to take our plate with the threaded hole and stick it through this hole in the frame rail. And get the hole lined up. Now you can take your larger head bolt, larger lock washer, and washer and thread that into place. So now that your bottom bolt is threaded in, we can insert our stud plate through this opening in the frame. Then you can get your bracket and insert through the hole. Just hold that in place. Then you can take your washer, lock washer, and your nut and thread it on. Then you can take your 16mm socket and tighten both of them down. Now we can install our module, which these two bolts will line up with our two holes in the pinch weld. We take our short bolt, lock washer, and our washer, insert that onto your bolt. Line your holes up and thread your bolts in. Our other bolt. An important note is that you mount your module on the passenger side of the vehicle because your wiring harness is not going to reach if you have it on the driver's side. So now we can tighten this down with a 13mm socket. So before we install our wiring harness, you're going to repeat the process for our motors on the other side. Now we're ready to get our harness connected. This group of connectors is going to go to our module, which we'll plug in. Then all of the connectors are labeled, so right rear goes to your right motor, front right goes to your front, and same for the other side. Now we can connect our harness to the corresponding connectors on our module. For our smaller connectors, the red tip is going to go to the red on the inside of this connector, and black with black. Now we can connect our harness to our front right motor, connect our connectors together. We can leave this one hanging for later because we'll be connecting our magnets to our doors. Now moving to the right rear, we can connect our connector to the motor. And now that your passenger side is done, you could run this part of the harness that has this installation to the other side of the vehicle and make your connections to the other two motors. Now that you've made your connections on the passenger side motors, we could run this part of the harness that has installation to the other side of the vehicle and make your connections on the other two motors. Now we can connect our entry lights. I'm going to put this through our hole in the pinch weld, make our connection, peel off the double-sided tape. Set this on the bottom of the cab. Press, hold in. And you repeat that process for the remaining motors. So now moving on to the cab of the vehicle, we're gonna have to remove this trim panel and peel back our carpet to make access for our brown wire that we're gonna snake through to connect our trigger sensors. So I'm going to use a trim panel removal tool to peel up on this panel. Now that we have our panel released, we can pull up on our carpet, peel up on our carpet, which will gain access to this rubber grommet that's in here that we can pull up on. Put that to the side. Then we can grab our brown wire with this connector on the end. Pull it through. Then we can take our trigger sensors and plug in from our brown wire to here. Then we could find a ground where we're gonna ground this prong here. Now for our ground, we're gonna move to the right rear door. We're gonna remove this door check bolt using a TX40 socket. Just gonna loosen it up a little bit. We can slide our ground prong behind the bolt and washer. Hold it in place, then we can tighten that down. Then we can take our trigger sensor and measure out where your magnet would sit. If I already pre-measured it, it would sit about here. Then we can peel the backing off of our magnet. You can apply it to our correct spot. Stick it on. And then your right rear is good. We can move on to the front. Now for the front, we're gonna peel the trigger sensor backing off. I'm gonna line it under door latch. Then you can take your magnet. We're gonna stick it right under the door latch here on the door. So now that they're lined up, when you open your door, they will engage your side steps. So before you reinstall your scuff panel and carpet, you're gonna run this white wire through the same hole as the brown wire. Then you're gonna run it to the other side, following the same procedure of pulling up on the panel and reconnecting your trigger harnesses. So after you've run your white wire to the other side of the vehicle, we're gonna reinstall our trim panel and our carpet. We can fold our carpet down, get our trim panel, get these grooves under the lip of the cab. You'll hear clicks. Now your scuff plate is back in place. So now we're going to be running our switch and battery wires up to our engine bay. So I'm going to use this hook to put it down next to the battery through the fender to grab our wires. Now that our hook is down, we can hook up our positive and negative wires and our switch connector. Then we can go up to the top and get our connector in there. Then we can go up to the top and pull our wires through. Now up top we can fish our wires through. So now you have these in, you can put your connector to the side, and now we can make our battery connection. So now we can take our 10mm socket and remove this nut. And we can take our positive cable, apply, spread your nut back on, tighten that down. Same for the negative. Thread back your nut. Tighten that down. Now we can run up our switch. Now for our switch wire, we could take our included zip ties and route it through this mount. Tighten up our zip tie. Then we can follow that same process on the other side of the engine bay. Then we can continue routing this along and run it under our coolant reservoir mount. Then we can take our switch and we're going to route it in this hole in the firewall down here. So we'll make our connection here first. Then you could put your switch through the hole. Then you can go in through the cab and pull out the excess. Then we could reach up into our firewall and grab the switch, pull through. Then you can peel the backing off of the switch. But you can put it wherever you like, but we're gonna put it right here. So now we can turn our switch on so that the motors will be down so we can install our e-boards. So now for our final step, we're going to be installing our e-board. There is this sliding track that has 2 threaded holes on it. You're going to be inserting that into the groove of the motor. So you're going to flip that up and make sure it lines up. like so. So now you can take your Allen head bolts and thread them through the bottom. Then you can take your 3/16 Allen head socket and tighten these down. So now you can repeat that process for the back side of the step and for the other side. So that's going to wrap up the install on our Rough Country Power running boards for your 2020 and newer Jeep Gladiator GT. Thanks for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it here at extremeterrain.com.